This is a fountain pen. It's a Schaefer fountain pen. This is a fountain pen. This is a Lamy. It's a Pelican. This is a Pelican fountain pen too. Lamy fountain pen. Another Lamy fountain pen. I've written with a fountain pen from the beginning of my legal studies and legal career, which occurred around about 2010 or thereabouts. In this video, I'm going to explain why and how I came to write with a fountain pen and why I write with a fountain pen to this day. All of these are fountain pens. The silver Schaefer pen that I showed you is the fountain pen that I used to pass the FE1 exams to gain entry to the Law Society. This pen sparked a love of fountain pens, and I've passed one or used one in my daily life ever since. I bought the pen in a jeweller's in Liffey Valley shopping centre, and I had a specific reason for doing so. The exams that I faced were the first exams I was going to sit in well over 20 years, since I'd graduated from UCD with my commerce degree in 1980. I had done some research on facing the FE1s, which are the entrance exams to become eligible to enter into a solicitor's apprenticeship and be accepted into the Law Society to do the professional practice courses and to become then an apprentice solicitor someplace. Most law students sitting these exams sit them in groups of 2 or 3 and eventually, after a number of sittings, pass all 8 exams and become apprentice solicitors. However, I did not have this time on my hands, as I was a mature student in my early 40s. I had been involved in a Celtic Tiger property development in Longford and had lost everything when the market crashed from 2008 onwards. I was undertaking all 8 FE1 exams in one sitting. That's something that's pretty unusual. I was confident I could give myself a great chance of passing by my application to my studies and the preparatory course I was doing in Griffith College in Dublin. But one problem that reared its head was the mental and physical requirements of sitting such tough exams, 8 of them, in a short period of time. Time management for each individual exam would be critical, but the actual physical task of writing the required 5 answers for each paper on 36 minutes flat would also present a problem. So I researched the most efficient way to write, and I discovered that it was to use a fountain pen. Because when you're using a fountain pen, you let your hand or arm glide across the paper. There's no pressing down, there's no need for downward pressure. The avoidance of this need to press down on the paper for 8 exams, each of which was 3 hours long, was bound to be beneficial in my attempt to pass them. This may seem like a minor, trivial problem to face, but when you're facing 8 exams with extremely tight time restrictions and a great deal of writing to be done, the chances of physical fatigue were high, and a peril that I could attempt to counter by a little research beforehand. And that is how I came about to buy this fountain pen. Thankfully, it worked. I passed all 8 exams at the one sitting, and now, as you know, I'm a practicing solicitor. But I've retained my love of fountain pens since then, and I use a fountain pen every day in my practice. I have a nice collection of Pelicans. I also have some other pens there as well, as I say, the Schaefer, and I like the Lamys as well because I like the way that they're designed, especially the grip. I have 3 different types of Lamy. I have a medium nib, I have a fine nib, and I have a broad nib, and I have mediums then in most of the other pens. But that's how I came to write with a fountain pen. I discovered, as I said, the most efficient way to write was actually, and the fastest and most effective way would be to use a fountain pen, simply because it did away with the need for downward pressure on the paper. And if you're doing 8 exams, tough exams, 3 hours each, 5 questions per exam, over a week, or I think it's 10 days or something, then you need every little edge you can get. So there you go. I still love fountain pens, and I still write with a fountain pen to this day. The different nibs on the fountain pens will give you a different thickness of writing. So this is generally I use this one every day. This is Lamy, as you can see, and this is a broad nib, so it's going to write fairly thick. It's going to write fairly thick, and it's going to have a broad flow of ink. On the other hand, this is Pelikan pen from Germany as well. Lamy's from Germany too. This has a medium nib, and therefore the flow of ink is going to be smaller with this one. It's not going to be as full, and therefore it's not going to be as thick. And this is appropriate sometimes as well for particular forms and so on, whereas I use the big thicker one, the broad nib, for the likes of signatures and stuff, and where I might want to finish a letter with a bit of a flourish or something like that. Then I've got a fine one as well. I think this one is fine. This is a Lamy as well, and then I have a medium Lamy also. And then this is the original Schaefer pen that I used. This is the one I bought in Liffey Valley in 2010 or thereabouts. This is the one with which I passed the FE1 exams and started my legal career, and this is one that I have a great degree of fondness for. As I say, I bought it in Liffey Valley, and I think one of the jewellery shops there. And I hadn't written with a fountain pen for many years, since I was in primary school actually, and that's not today or yesterday. So there you go.